I got a new camera. Okay, yeah, we're even more high def than ever before. Actually, this one can do 4K. This video's not going to be in 4K, but I might play with the 4K setting at some point, alright? Taking it to the next level! Alright, so this will be One Piece chapter 959, titled Samurai! Really? We're, what is this, like 40 chapters into Wano, and we're just getting Samurai as a title. Like, okay, that's the one requirement, though. You gotta say Samurai! Alright, so, we start off on the cover page, Beiji and Chiffon, what are they doing? Okay, well, since we found out that Lola had just left Dressrosa, I wasn't exactly sure if they were gonna stay there, but then again, maybe they might need, like, provisions and stuff for their journey, so they decided to stick around on Dressrosa, or maybe they're thinking, oh, maybe Lola just left for a little while, maybe she went to go grab some milk and eggs to make a cake or something, and she'll be back shortly, I don't know. So, anyway, they go into the town proper, and, you know, Dressrosa, it's been a few weeks, couple months, I think, since the events of the arc there with Doflamingo and the birdcage, but, you know, it's still not looking all too good. Granted, we did have Fujitora use his gravity powers to kind of, you know, get most of the rubble away, but the ground is all, like, sliced up from the birdcage. Personally, I feel sorry for anybody on the island that has, like, OCD or something, because you'd see those lines everywhere and be like, we need to fill in all these lines, bring in all the cement, you know, you fill in, there's like thousands, tens of thousands of these little lines just cutting through the ground. So, yeah, it's mostly kind of a wiped out wasteland, but there is a town in the distance, so Capone and Chiffon are going to be heading toward there, and they're a little cautious, you know, Capone has his gun out, he's just like, oh, alright, I don't know where this is going, it is weird around these parts, so we're going to see where this is going to go, I guess. But yeah, moving on to the actual chapter, we are actually having a flashback to the 2 days since we left Kinemon and everybody as they left Amagasa Village going over to the Tokage port. What exactly happened? What led to the events from last chapter where they arrived at Tokage port and the entire place was deserted and, you know, the weather was horrible. I mean, you can't control the weather. It was going to be rainy no matter what you did, but nobody's at the port, none of the ships are there, and Onigashima is looming. Like, it's time for the attack. It's time that we do this, but our plan seemingly has failed. So what exactly did Orochi do? Okay, well, we find out in this chapter, and to be honest, I mean, like, I don't know if I'm just really good at anticipating the maneuvers of a paranoid shogun, but I'm really good at anticipating the moves of a paranoid shogun, because he pretty much does exactly what I figured he'd do. Okay, so first we have a little bit of a flashback to things that we'd already seen before, with Kinemon, you know, rallying all the troops, getting together and be like, okay, everything seems good, we got like 4,000 something people working under us, take these remaining 2 days to just focus on preparation and travel. So we already heard him say that a few chapters ago, okay? And we cut all over Wano, and it seems like everything is going well. We cut over to the Itachi port, which is where Frankie and Usopp, or Usohachi, and Franosuke were helping to fix up all the ships and everything. Some of the minks are there, and they were like, okay, well, guys, it's been great working with you and everything. We fixed up all these ships. Frankie and Usopp, they're gonna head out to Amagasa. They're gonna find the Sunny. Remember, the Sunny is on the outskirts of Amagasa Village. After it washed ashore there at the beginning of Wano, Luffy basically just took it and then hid it inside of a cave that was kind of facing away from the island, so you wouldn't be able to tell it's there right away. So Frankie and Usopp are like, well, way to go, guys, you know, get the ships ready to go, meet at Tokage port, we're gonna head back to the cave. Also, something else I wanted to bring up, and we already knew this already, but I just like it whenever it's focused on, is that this, the friendship, the brotherhood that Frankie and Usopp have, because Usopp, of course, was the ship's mechanic or handyman before Frankie came along, and he was responsible for, like, a good part of how the Mary managed to get as far as it was because of Usopp's repairs. They were inexperienced, but they were out of love. So I like to think that, you know, Usopp is genuinely interested in being a shipwright and being an actual proper engineer, so Frankie is teaching him some stuff on the side, you know? Not going to be able to give him, like, all the information that he's got, obviously. Frankie's always going to be the better shipwright, but I'm sure, like, right now in the story, Usopp would know basics of how to, like, repair a ship, instead of just taking some wood and just, like, you know, nailing it over a hole. Like, he would know actually the particulars of how to repair something like that, and Frankie's showing him that kind of stuff. So that's pretty neat. We cut basically all over Wano, and it's basically like the calm before the storm. It's setting us up that's like, okay, everything's going great, which means it's about to fail miserably. basically. We cut over to Udon, we see Hyo there, and he's talking about how Ocho, one of the Yakuza bosses, you know, the sexy female one, you know, she's going to be bringing swords back from Ringo, so we should prepare for that. We have other members of the Yakuza talking about how we need to be careful, like we can't all get together like a march of 4,000 something men and all go to Tokage Port at once. That's going to draw some suspicions. They're also talking about how it's like, well, there are going to be a few government officials left over at the Flower Capital, but remember, most of those government officials, Orochi included, are going to be going on the ship to Onigashima, right? So they're not going to leave, they're not stupid enough to leave the entire Flower Capital unguarded. Of course, there's going to be guards stationed, okay, but it's going to be very lax. And of course, the entire country is sort of partying. At least all the well-to-do areas are, like the Bakura district and the Flower Capital, all the other areas where the officials and the Beast Pirates have been staying up until that point, they're all going to be bumping. So it's like, yeah, as long as we don't have like one massive march toward Tokage Port, like I can understand getting 4,200 people together and like marching in lockstep toward one singular location. Even with the smaller amount of officials and stuff in the capital, that's probably going to be queued up as like something's up. So it's like, yeah, we can be careful, but we should be okay with that. We cut over to Amagasa, where we get to see Luffy, Brook, and Chopper all trying on badass samurai armor. I'm like, oh, that's great. And you know, you figured that was coming. Honestly, I thought it was going to be Kinemon that was going to do that. I thought Kinemon was going to use his clothes powers, and he was going to create, you know, armor for the Straw Hats and for the entire army. Because from what we've understood with Kinemon's power, he can make any kind of clothing as long as he's picturing it. Last time I checked, armor kind of counts as clothing, sort of. They kind of go hand in hand a little bit. So it's just like, all right, yeah, instead of making clothing out of cloth, I'm going to make it out of armor, like steel or iron, you know, whatever. You can do that, right? Sure, you could do that. So unfortunately, we don't see that. We don't even know if Kinemon could do that. I just assumed as that was like an extension of his fruit. It would also, like, his fruit has been useful up until this point. He was able to use it, of course, to create, you know, the warm clothing on Punk Hazard and everything. So there's definitely applications for it. And disguises, it works great for disguises, like at Dressrosa and giving the Straw Hats, like Nami, her sexy Kunoichi outfit and everything. But it's like, there has to be another thing you could utilize with this, right? So maybe he can, maybe he can't. But it's actually Tengumaru, or that's actually giving the Straw Hats the armor here, okay? And so it's a great scene. Luffy looks really cool in his armor. He has like one of his arms that is uncovered completely, which, you know, maybe in practicality, I mean, that makes sense because he's got to reach over to grab the sword, which, yeah, Luffy does have a sword now. It's no longer the Nidai. It's another blade that Luffy has. It has a cross on it. Kind of looks similar to Yubashiri a little bit, because Yubashiri had, it didn't have a cross, but it had this little dot here on the hilt. So it kind of looks a little bit like that. Brook also has a sword. Chopper has like a little Tonto. Chopper's samurai outfit is just adorable. I love it. They got the giant antlers coming off of them, which don't look very practical in an actual battle. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's like the old misconception that Vikings had the helmets with the giant horns coming out of them. You think like in battle that would be a horrible thing. Like you could just grab onto those horns and drag your enemy down. That'd be very impractical to have those things. These definitely look more like artistic-y kind of samurai outfits. At least the helmets kind of do, right? But then again, maybe it's for like intimidation. You know, like maybe back in the day when you're riding into an enemy, you know, camp or whatever, and you're gonna raid them, you know, you see in the distance these guys that have like giant horns sticking out of their head like they're Onis or something, be like, oh no, they're coming for us, you know? So yeah, maybe there's a practical purpose for it there. You know, Carrot's off to the side, so we get some Carrot love in this chapter. She's like, proper, you guys look so cool. It's like, it's funny because you know in the mind of Luffy and Chopper and Brook, they're like, oh man, we are the supreme badasses right now. The word badass was literally created for us in this one moment, right? They're doing the striking the awesome poses and stuff. But in the background, it's more of just like little kids trying on Halloween costumes. Robin's in the background, and she's like, oh my goodness, you look so cute. You look like a bunch of Hercules beetles. And I was like, oh, that's so precious. There was, the SBS, not the Viva card. The Viva cards are done for right now, but there was an SBS I did last week where I was talking about how there were different names that the Straw Hats were going to give to Sanji's stealth black suit, his Osoba mask, right? And so Robin's name for that was Ominous Mask. And somebody in the comments of that video, I remember they said, you know, oh, that's like if Robin was a mother complimenting her child's, like, Halloween costume. Like, oh my, your Ominous Mask. Oh, that's so terrifying. terrifying. You know, like, that's how, like, Izuku's mom would have reacted when he tried on the All Might outfit for the first. Oh my god, you look like such a strong hero, dear. That's how kind of Robin reminds him of it right now. It's like, oh my god, you guys look so cute. You look so, like, terrifying insects right now. But yeah, I don't know how long they're gonna keep the armor on because, and the swords and things, because we know that's not how Luffy fights. That's how Brook fights, and Brook doesn't have his cane sword. He has, like, a regular katana. So Brook would have at least a basic understanding, though, of how to use a sword. Luffy doesn't. Luffy just takes the sword and just gumu gumu no, you know, rifle, and just, like, the blade just, like, spin. That would actually be terrifying if he takes a sword and uses rifle, because he's got to, like, coil up his arm to use rifle, and the sword just comes shooting at the opponent like a freaking buzzsaw blade, like a propeller. That would be horrifying, actually, to get caught in that. Chopper doesn't know anything about using a sword, so I don't know how long they're gonna keep these, this armor thing up, or if they're gonna get to a point where they're just like, this is actually kind of more encumbering, but it looks so cool. I could see Luffy maybe ripping off part of the armor, but keeping the helmet just for the sake of the helmet looking cool, right? I could see Brook and Chopper both doing that, honestly. I want to see Chopper go into his human point with that armor on, because it's already been explained, you know, when you go into your zone forms, you know, clothing doesn't rip. That's just not how Oda draws it. So I want to see Chopper go into his monster point, not his, with the monster point, that would work too, because monster point Chopper, his shorts get huge, right? Even when he goes into monster point, his hat gets huge, his shorts enlarge, so it's not like even an exception with that. So god, that would be cool. Monster point Samurai Chopper, but also human point Chopper would be neat as well. Okay, so next we have a scene between Sanji and Zorro, and it's pretty funny. Okay, so Sanji kind of walks over to Zorro nonchalantly and kind of points over to the armor, and he's like, hey, don't you want some of that too? I mean, if there's any of the Straw Hats that could actually make samurai armor work to their advantage, like they take the full extent of what the armor can give them, that would be Zorro, because, you know, he is a samurai, you know, so you gotta have, you know, the swords and everything, and so Zorro is just kind of like, nah, that would just slow me down, you know, that's not the kind of thing, I don't really wear armor, and it's true, Zorro really doesn't, right? But Sanji has, like, a quip. He's just like, oh, this is like the first time I think he's been able to actually bring this up since his bounty was revealed as being higher than Zorro's. Sanji was just kind of like, oh, okay, you know, it'll slow you down. Well, you know, maybe you should wear it anyway. I mean, after all, your bounty is lower than mine. I wouldn't want you to get hurt now. You know Sanji, the entire time he's been in Wano, he's been planning. He's just like, okay, I'm not just gonna throw it out there. I'm not just gonna rub it into his face. I'm not gonna be like, hey, Mosshead, how you been? Also, my bounty's higher than yours now. No. That's not how I'm gonna do this. I gotta figure out the best way to just lay it down. And I think Sanji's lied awake at night, thinking about Nami in the bathhouse. But after that, also thinking about what's the best way for me to just stick it to him. And so he finally maybe arrived at this conclusion. He saw Luffy and everybody's trying on the armor, and a light bulb went above Sanji's head. He's just like, I know what I gotta do. I know what I must do. He walks over to Zorro. He's like, hey, Zorro, maybe you should try some of that armor on. I mean, after all, your bounty is lower than mine. I just don't want to see you get hurt, buddy. Zorro takes freaking Enma, and he just like, Enma, slice! And then slices part of the freaking cliff off like he did before, but it's more controlled this time, like he meant to do it this time. And just shing, and then Sanji's like, whoa, holy crap, what's wrong with you? And Nami's off to the side, just like, would you stop doing stuff? You know, like, oh my god. So that was pretty funny. Like Zorro's immediate response to like, oh, you think I'm weak, huh? Check this out. Shing! And then just an entire cliff just disappears from this planet, you know? So, yeah. That was pretty good, though. We cut over to Robin. She's talking about how the entrance to Onigashima is always winter. And the way she says it, I think, is deliberately vague. The Minks and Nami and, you know, they kind of, like, all assume it just means, like, the literal sense of winter, as in, like, oh, it's really cold at the entrance. Because they mention, like, you know, the land of Wano has always been kind of weird when it comes to the weather. Each individual region has different weather patterns and everything like that, and the weather can just, like, go from sunny to rainy to snow like that. It's not a big deal. But I'm thinking the entrance being winter, I think there's something else here. I don't think it's just as simple as just like, oh, there's a lot of snow at the entrance to Onigashima, or the boat ride there is going to be very cold. They might be talking about a second meaning to winter. From like a storytelling perspective, you know, winter is usually connected a lot of times to death, you know, just because you look at the seasons, you know, spring is the time of rebirth, summer would be adulthood, fall would be, you know, your twilight years, getting older, and then winter would represent death. So maybe because Robin mentions this is something Orochi said. Orochi mentioned the entrance to Onigashima is winter, so, or always in winter. So it could have been a literal sense of like it's just cold there, which I guess would also imply the rest of Onigashima is not winter, if only the entrance is, or it could be referring to the sense of like, you know, nothing awaits you there but death. If you're an outsider, if you step on that island, it's over for you. So that might be another meaning, or there might be another meaning I'm not thinking of, but I'm thinking like they brought up it's winter. It's just like a weird way to say it, you know what I mean? They bring up the full moon because the minks are all there. We got the Three Musketeers, we got Sicilian, we got Consulate and Giovanni. We found out their names during Vivre cards. Okay, I was just looking at Consulate, yeah, because he's a fox. All right, so they're there and they're talking about the full moon. However, they mention, and I brought this up last time or a few chapters ago, you know, like, yeah, it would be great if they could have access to the full moon to go Sulong, but because the weather patterns are so random, even if there is a full moon when they arrive at Onigashima, that's not a guarantee it's going to be a full moon all night, or the sky's going to be clear all night. You know, they could be a clear sky for an hour and get an hour form of Sulong, and then like all of a sudden it could be a typhoon that whips up, and then they even mention like, well, you know, Sulong's not going to be any use if we can't see the moon, right? So it doesn't matter if it's full moon or not, they still need to see it. So yeah, we're going to hold off on that. I'm sure, like I said, we're going to get Sulong action. I mean, I don't think Oda would do that to us, like dangling that in front of us and being like, hey, guess what? It's going to be a full moon. Oh, sorry, what? It's cloudy, guys. Can't help you. You know, just like, no, we're going to get a little bit of Sulong, and then it's probably going to get cloudy at the worst possible minute. You know, like the Sulongs are all rampaging through freaking Onigashima, like, roar! And they arrive and they're about to take out Jack or Queen or somebody, and it's just like, it's over, Queen! Roar! And then the cloud just covers the moon and just like, and they all turn back to their regular forms, all worn out and exhausted. So, yeah, that's definitely a possibility there, right? We get a scene with Luffy looking very seriously out into the ocean, and this is the first time I think in the entire arc, really, we've brought up Jinbei. So, what's going on with the J-Dog, you know? Well, Luffy doesn't know, nobody really knows, but he mentions, he's like, final battle's coming up here, guys, you know, and Jinbei said he would be here, he would help us, Big Mom's on the island, she's here, but Jinbei's not. And so, they're worried about him, obviously, but Luffy is a bit of an optimist here, and he's just like, oh, don't worry, he'll definitely come. You know, and it's like, well, if he's alive, he'll come, and Luffy's just like, oh, no, he's alive, definitely. You know, he's definitely gonna show up, right, no matter what, come hell or high water. Now, there's been some theories out there that Jinbei got turned into a homie, so he's not going to look like he did, but he's going to show up, and that's the reason why Oda really hasn't shown him yet in, like, any of the cover spreads or anything with all the Straw Hats, because Jinbei is officially a member now. He's been confirmed as a member in the Vivre cards. Luffy himself said, you know, you're my, you know, crewmate now. I'm your captain, right? So he's definitely a member of the Straw Hats. It's just we haven't seen him in the cover spreads yet with the rest of the Straw Hats, and Oda's like keeping it a secret. Like, okay, well, what does that mean? Does that mean, like, it could mean as something as simple as Jinbei just has like an eye patch now, like he has a different design, or it could mean he has a really, you know, he's a completely different character design because he's a homie now. So we'll see where this goes, but yeah, there's gonna be something up with Jinbei when he finally gets there, right? Okay, so anyway, yeah, Zoro's there, and he's like, oh, he'll be a welcome addition. Like, the Straw Hats are all on board with Jinbei joining the crew. It's not like, yeah, that's not even an issue, right? Okay, so now we cut over to other areas of Wano. We cut over to Ebisu Town, where apparently the Witching Hour boy, remember that dude? Yeah, that guy. He's still a thing, because it's like Robin pretended to be him once, and Yasuie pretended to be him once, but neither of them are the Witching Hour boy. It could be Denjiro. We still don't know what's up with Denjiro, but yeah, the Witching Hour boy was there again and provided some gold for the citizens of Ebisu Town so they can at least buy some water, like some clean water for the festival. I guess they can't afford sake, or no, if you have a choice between alcohol and water, please go with water. You know, if you're dying of thirst, probably alcohol is not the best thing to drink there. So it's like, oh, we can actually drink water today. What a happy day. Weird thing is that the Witching Hour boy apparently was there, but there was no robberies in the capital. At least they're not talking about them. You know, so if he did appear and he did did rob the capital like he normally does, you know, steal from the flower capital and give it to the leftover towns. This is not what he did this time, so I'm not really sure what's up with that. Witching Hour Boy is still a plot thread, so we're going to see where that's going to go. We cut over to Okabore Town, where we get reacquainted with our old pal Hold'em. Remember Hold'em? I remember Hold'em. Guy had like a stovepipe top hat and a lion sticking out of his stomach. Kind of hard to miss, really. Actually, if you're watching the anime, we just had the episode where Luffy just red-hawked Hold'em into the ground, so this will be great for anime-only viewers if you're reading manga, which you wouldn't be anime-only if you're reading the manga, but if you somehow wandered here, how you doing? I'm Tekking101. You know, go catch up with Wano, and then I'll be your best friend. Okay, so anyway, no. Hold'em's there, and he's talking about how, okay, there's food missing from the Bakura district, so we assume it's going to be Shutenmaru and his mountain bandits, but the head mountain where the mountain bandits were gathering, that was their headquarters, got burned down. So it's like, you think they'd be coming you think they'd be coming at us for revenge, but instead they're stealing food, but they have nowhere to bring the food back to. So Hold'em's a little confused by this. So he's going to all the citizens in Okabore Town, and he's just like, "Where's the food? Where's the food? I don't know, Hold'em, damn it!" You know, and so Tsuru comes up. Tsuru, Kinemon's wife. I was gonna say Kiku's. Well, yeah, Kiku's you know, boss, I guess, at the tea place. Well, anyway, yeah. So she comes up, and she doesn't know that Kinemon's on the island yet, because Kinemon did not come up to her and actually speak to her, because Kinemon's like, we'll wait until after the battle's over for me to, you know, go up to my wife. You know, we'll wait until afterwards to celebrate and all that stuff. And I also think when Kiku was working for Tsuru, Kiku never revealed her true identity to her as well. But, you know, Tsuru is smart enough to figure out that's like, oh, I know that wasn't just some random tea house girl. That was a Kiku Nojo, right? And so that means the prophecy is coming true that Lady Toki spoke about, which means Kinemon is also here, my beloved husband. So she puts two and two together, and she's like, okay, they needed that food. The food is needed for provisions for the rebellion. So she goes up to Hold'em and kind of is like, oh, Master Hold'em, I can show you what happened to it, but it's a little bit of a walk. It's a little bit of a journey, but I can show you what happened. And, you know, Hold'em takes one of the citizens and throws him to the... It's like, you know where this food is? And she's like, yes, I do. And so Tsuru kind of covers for everybody, and she leads Hold'em away. And keep in mind, this is all taking place in the past still. You know, last chapter took place during the actual day of the Fire Festival. This is still taking place like the day before. The next major scene is the night before the Fire Festival, where this is where Orochi enacted his master plan. Alright, so first thing we see a bunch of the gifters that have like flying zones, flying artificial zones. So we see a butterfly smile, we see an eagle or a hawk smile, we see like a pigeon or a dove smile, so they all have wings and they're flying around, and they locate the cave where the Sunny is moored. So they have to kind of fly around the beach there, but they located it, and they're like, we found our target, and they're like, okay, release the payload. And so they all have like bazookas and stuff attached to them, and they launch these bazookas, and they cause a cave-in, and the Sunny is buried. So, yeah, that's the end of the Thousand Sunny, guys. Not quite as dramatic as the death of the Mary. You know, we don't have, you know, this whole chapter focused on the end of one of the ships, and we don't have, like, a tearful goodbye from the Straw Hats aren't even there. That's a bold thing to get rid of the ship of the Straw Hats without the Straw Hats even being present, Toda, you know? But hey, sometimes it's just easier to rip the Band-Aid off, you know, just be like, oh, well, Sunny, it's been fun journeying with you for hundreds and hundreds of chapters, but whatever, just rip the Band-Aid off and moving on, right? The sun has set. No se te arita kono una bara o. Okay, yeah, I can't sing, dear friends. Okay, yeah, the Sunny is definitely not, it's not gone, all right? I'm not sure what would have happened there. Okay, well, you know what? Here's a possibility. I'm throwing something out there, all right. So let's say Frankie and Usopp managed to get back to the Sunny, and they were on board when this happened. They were, like, on the Sunny, and they were getting ready to, like, raise anchor and set out, and then all of a sudden they heard these gifters flapping around at the cave entrance, and they're just like, oh, crap, you know, Usopp, hide below decks. And so they hide, and then they see these gifters, and they're just like, oh, there's the target, let's fire it. And remember, the Sunny has that thing called Chicken Voyage, where the propeller, the mane of the flower, the petals of the flower or the mane of the lion, however you want to put it, it's a lion, but, you know, they spin really fast, and it allows the ship to, like, make an emergency evacuation backwards. So they use this at Duval's place in the open sea, right, when they were about to, like, drop that giant anchor on the Sunny. They're just, like, really quick, like, launch the propeller, and the Sunny can just whoop. And also, the Sunny itself, right now, it has a brand new engine, which might be able to do that automatically, right? So maybe, right before the cave-in, you know, because we don't actually get to see, like, the Sunny getting crushed by the rocks. We just see them launching at the cave ceiling and then the rocks falling down. We don't actually get to see the fate of the Sunny, which means it's not destroyed. And so maybe inside of the cave, Frankie and Usopp activate the chicken voyage, and when the rocks begin to fall, the ship goes backwards, like, whoop, and then avoids the majority of the cave-in. The ship might still be trapped in the cave, but there might be another way out. Maybe that cave links up to, like, the river connecting Curry and Udon in some way. Like, there's another way out that just nobody knew about, right? You know, so the cave entrance is definitely destroyed, so the Sunny can't go out that way, but, well, they do have the Gao cannon as well, so they could just wait until the gifters are gone and just, Gao-ho! And just blast the cave entrance open. So the Sunny's gonna be fine, I'm sure. I'm thinking Frankie and Usopp were on board, and they did something in order to avoid the majority of the damage. Maybe the Sunny took a little bit of damage from the cave falling in, but nothing huge, okay? So yeah, that was, I mean, it's pretty scary though, right? And then we cut to all various locations all over Wano. The Itachi port, where all the ships were being built and fixed up, that's destroyed. The bridges connecting, well, actually, hold on, let me just get a whole list here, because there's a lot of them. The bridges connecting Ringo and Hakumai, Udon and Hakumai, Kibi and Udon, and Curry and Udon, all destroyed. And plus the Itachi port, and plus the location where the Straw Hat's ship, the Thousand Sunny, was moored, that was destroyed as well. And so we cut over to Orochi, who's in his castle, and this is the night before, remember, and this is like, he's talking to everybody, coordinating everything, and he's like, did you destroy it? Good, now destroy this bridge. He's like, but sir, these bridges are, like, really important. Screw it, we can rebuild them after the fire festival. That's not important. We can fix it up, no problem. Just blow them up now. So they're destroying all these bridges, right? And there's this moment where Orochi is there, and he's just Xing off these different locations on the Wano map, all of the locations that got destroyed. Where is my Wano map? Hold on. I did a little bit of a reshuffle in here. I cleaned everything up, so it's, yeah. Whoa! Okay, okay, we're good. Okay, so we're good. We good, Barry? We're good, Barry. Okay. Why do you have a hamburger on your head? It looks ridiculous. Okay, so this is the map of Wano, right? Okay, map of Wano. So yeah, these bridges have been destroyed, this bridge has been destroyed. Obviously what Orochi is doing is he's cutting off any way to get into Udon. Okay, because that's the big major, that's where the Tokage port is, that's where the rebellion is meeting, so it's like we got to cut off connection to the Udon region altogether. They know that the prison has been captured as well, so that's another reason. That's the location where the port is, where Amagasa is, that got destroyed. Well, that's the location where the Sunny was moored. The port is up here, Itachi port, so all this has been destroyed. So yeah, you know, a few chapters ago, I was throwing out the idea of like, okay, well, if I was Orochi, what would I do in this situation, right? If I was even a little bit more paranoid that the rebellion was still going to happen, it wasn't just a joke. Yasuie coming out and taking the fall for it and saying, oh, it was just a gag, you know, whatever. That wouldn't be good enough for Orochi, of course. Orochi's like, I am Lord Orochi! I will not just sit by and make you make laughing of me, okay? I will destroy everything if it means that I cannot get destroyed, you know, so that's Orochi, right? So I thought he was going to go and destroy every port in the entire island, like even the ports that have been, you know, abandoned. Okay, so he doesn't go that far, but he does go far enough to destroy the Itachi port, because he knows Curry is kind of connected to all this. And for one thing, that's where the Kozuki clan ruled over, and that's where, well, that's where Oden ruled over, and that's where the castle was and everything, so he knew Curry was connected to this. So he's like, destroy the port in Curry just to make sure, and also destroy all these bridges so there's no way they can meet up at the Tokage port, right? And Orochi, he looks really, honestly, demonic in this one scene, and he's like, you know what? They all laughed at me! They all laughed at me! Well, I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter if you think I'm right. It doesn't matter if you don't take me seriously. I'm the one that has all the power, so I can do whatever I want. And, I mean, he's right. I mean, that's a horrifying statement, but at the end of the day, it's right. People all over Wano think that Orochi is kind of off his rocker. They think he's this paranoid dude that's just afraid that the ghosts of the past are going to come out, and everyone's like, that's stupid. The Kozuki clan got wiped out. There's even a line that Orochi says where he's just like, I simply cannot believe that the Kozuki clan were all wiped out 20 years ago. We didn't see their heads after the battle. Hell, you know what? Even if I did see their heads, even if I saw their corpses right in front of me, I still wouldn't believe they're dead. That's the kind of guy Orochi is. He's so paranoid, he'll never let this go. Until his dying breath, which might come rather sooner rather than later, he will never believe it. Like, even if they literally dragged, like, they had all the bodies of all the retainers and Oden and Toki and everybody right in front of him, and they got rid of them right in front of his eyes, Orochi would still think, nah, this is a trick or something. This is some Aizen Chokasuigetsu nonsense. They're still out there somewhere. I know it. That's the kind of guy he is. And it's like how he's always been, you know, for the last 20 years, this really paranoid ruler, right? So he comes up and he's just like, you know what? It's okay if you laugh at me. It's okay if you make fun of me. Guess what? I'm the freaking Shogun. I have all the power. I tell people to go do stuff and they do it. I want you to go destroy all the bridges. I want you to destroy that empty port. I want you to destroy that random cave. They'll do it because he has the power. So that's what Orochi did. So he cut off the main routes to get to the Tokage port, and they also wiped out the Itachi harbor where all the ships were. We get to see the harbor very quickly, and it's like these ships will never sail again. Now that was the statement I believe Orochi or one of his men was saying. That wasn't the people at the harbor, right? They just, you know, blew the crap out of it, right? So, yeah, that was the thing that Orochi was grinning about at the end of the last chapter when he's chilling out on Onigashima with the Beast Pirate babes. He was like, I'm awesome. You know, that was what he did. Okay. So now we cut back to the present finally with the end of the chapter where we're at Tokage Port and there's nobody there except for the Scabbards and Shinobu and Momo and everybody. And Momo is kind of standing off to the side with Shinobu and he's bawling his eyes out. Shinobu is too. Meanwhile, Kinemon and everybody are trying to get in that tiny little boat that Inuarashi had. It's just like, okay, well, we still got to do it. And Momo's like, but we can't do this now. And Kinemon's like, we don't got any other choice, Momo. We don't. We can't. The only other time we could do this is in another year during the next year's Fire Festival. We can't wait that long. You think we're going to have this opportunity again? There's no way we could wait an entire year. We can't scavenge off of food for an entire year. They're going to figure out about the prison. You know, this is the best opportunity to do this. If it's going to happen, we got to do it now. And Momo is their leader because he's Oden's son. So they're like, you know, Lord Momonosuke, you have to command us to go. You can't command us to retreat. We also find out here what the fate of Okebore Town was, and that's that Hold'em, I guess, burned the whole town down. So even with Osuru trying to like cover for the townspeople, I guess Hold'em got wise to the ruse and they just burned the entire town down. So Okebore Town is no longer there, and Kinemon's like, that was my wife, she was there, I'm not sure what happened to her, but we got to do this now, right? And so he mentions to Momonosuke, it's like, you know, even your father at the very beginning, he was alone as well. But look at all the stuff that Oden was able to accomplish, Momo. You know, so it doesn't seem likely, but this is the best shot we got. We got to go with it now. And we get one final shot of all the Scabbards that are there, and like Raizo and Kanjuro, they're crying. Kawamatsu and Ashuradoji, Inuarashi, they seem to be holding themselves together. Kikunojo is in her armor, so we really can't see what she's doing. She might be crying as well. But they're all remembering Oden. They're all reminiscing about the time they spent with him and how much loyalty they have to him. And even though he's not around anymore, Ashuradoji's like, if we never met Lord Oden, then we would have never become great samurai. So there's the origin of the chapter title there. He made us into the samurai that we are now, right? That's that man, Kozuki Oden, right? And so they all kind of head out. Shinobu's kind of holding Momo, so I'm guessing he's not going to go, because Momo's like, well, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, just stay here, stay behind. You and Lady Hiyori one day might be able to get... And Momo's like, quit telling me what to do. You know, you're deciding my fate for me. I don't like that, you know? And so Momo's a little kid. You know, he's not a tactical genius. He's an 8-year-old kid. He doesn't know what to do in this situation. You know, it's just like he can't process it, because it's like we had this plan, everything seemed to be going good, and then it failed. You can't look to Momo for leadership, little kids. So it's just like, all right, the Scabbards just kind of put their hats, you know, they're like, all right, I guess we're doing this. We got to go forward with it, even though it might end in the deaths of all of us. We got to continue forward, right? So this leads into Kinemon reminiscing about Oden, and we get the flashback that we finally have been wanting to see forever. I thought we were going to get an introduction to what Oden looked like in this chapter, but we don't. He's still perpetually in silhouette, but we flash back to Wano country 39 years ago, so that's 1 year before the God Valley incident and the whole Rocks thing, but this is during the time when Rocks was the king of the seas. But we cut back to then, and Kinemon is remembering how Oden was talking about the closed border policy of Wano, and he's like, the reason why Wano is a closed border country and isolated the way it is has a lot to do with the Kozuki clan. So they're going to connect back to that. The Kozuki clan, you know, under Oden, they wanted to open the borders, but before Oden's time, they wanted to keep the closed borders. So there's definitely going to be a story there, right? So we have 39 years ago in Wano. This would have been 19 years ago from the perspective of Kinemon and Kanjuro and Kiku and Raizo, the ones that jumped in time. So this is still a long time ago for them, but even longer for like Shinobu, right? This was also, Inuarashi and Nekomamushi are only 40 years old. So that means that they would have only been 1 year old, so they're probably not going to be prevalent in this flashback at all. At least not 39 years ago they were. We know they washed ashore at Wano when they were little kids, but I don't know if the development cycle of minks is different, but we saw them when they were like washed ashore. Maybe they were 1 year old here, maybe they weren't. I'm not really sure how minks grow up that fast. You know, maybe they do, but whatever. Anyway, Oden is walking through the flower capital 39 years ago. And all the citizens are freaking out. He was infamous at this point. He's not the nice guy. He's like, they're kind of scared of him. They're like, hide your women, hide your daughters, close up your shops, hide your livestock, for God's sakes. Like, what's Oden gonna do with your livestock? I'm like, all right, I don't want to know. So Oden is just stomping through town. He's like, he tried to set out to sea again, and he failed. That's freaking Oden right there. Man, this guy's such an idiot. And Oden is just kind of like walking through town in silhouette, and he's like, how suffocating, man. This country's too cramped. So that's how the chapter ends right there, setting up the Oden flashback, which is a great way to do it right now, right when we see to be like right at your the lowest point in the rebellion. We're going to get like Oden's flashback, and then after the flashback ends, it'll probably be like all of a sudden the skies clear up and everything works out okay, right? So I don't know how long this flashback's gonna last, but I hope it's a while. I hope this lasts a while. I think Oda's gonna do at least... How long was the flashback at Fishman Island with Otohime and everything? That was a decent number of weeks. That wasn't just over in like 2 or 3 weeks. That was a while. So I hope we get something about that length, you know, at least that would make sense there. Because of just the setup from Wano for so long and everything. Next chapter, we are most likely going to see Oden's face. Because I understand why he would want to keep it in silhouette for this thing. We see him carrying Enma and Ame no Habakiri, and, you know, he has the rope on his back, and he has that Oden's head. I'm assuming it's a hat, but Oda, the way he does things, he might want us to think it's a hat, but it turns out Oden's like flat top, you know, right there, that's actually maybe his hair. You know, like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. He has like umbrella hair, right? If that's like the twist that Oda's gonna do there, right? So yeah, this is a man... We don't know how old Oden, you know, would have been right now in the story, or how old he was when he died, but he's obviously a much younger man here, probably late teens, early 20s. If this was 19 years before, like, Kinemon and Kanjuro would have been 20 at this point. Kinemon, I think, would have been, like, 17 or 16. He's a little bit younger. You know, I'm not sure if Shinobu would have been around yet. Probably, but she would have been pretty young. So, yeah, we got to figure out, like, all the timelines and everything here, because there's people that jumped time, and then there's people that didn't, like Shinobu. But this is definitely a long time ago, like 39 years ago in the, you know, past. This was well before the Great Pirate Era. Brook was still on the ship, so that's nothing different there. But most of the Straw Hats weren't even around at this point, you know, like Frankie, Robin, they're not around yet. Yeah, none of the Straw Hats would have been around except for Brook. That's back then, so that's a long time ago. So, yeah, that's interesting there. Now, we're not going to probably focus on any other area of One Piece in the world. We're probably just going to focus on Wano because of how isolated it is. Next chapter, I would like to just get to see Oden's face and then focus on, you know, the climate of Wano at that time. You know, why is it a closed-bordered country? Maybe a little bit about the past of Wano and how it was created, or maybe the legends of how it was created. Something of that nature would be really good. We're not going to probably cut back to the present storyline for a while, but I think once again, like I said last time, it's going to be you know, spun in a way where it's like, yeah, Orochi did this last-ditch effort to try to stop the rebellion, and it definitely it hindered things, it delayed things, but it didn't stop the rebellion. It always continues. Like, the Sunny's going to turn out to be okay, and the Straw Hats are going to be there, and then the Minks are going to arrive, and then the rest of the ships are going to be able to be okay. Like I said, maybe Frankie developed the decoy ships. That's why they had all these extra ships on hand. So there's definitely, I went over that last time, but I'm thinking, yeah, there's definitely going to be a way where this is going to be circumnavigated. And if anything, right now, I mean, Orochi is always paranoid, so Orochi might still have it in his head like, oh, even though I did all of that, there still might be a a rebellion, but if he's going to be relaxed at all, it's going to be right now. It's going to be him thinking, like, I did what I was supposed to do, even if people made fun of me. I still did it because I'm Lord Orochi. Now I'm going to hang out in the Onigashima with these hot, you know, busty beast pirate babes and drink my sake. Glug, 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 glug. He gets drunk, and maybe he's not making the best decisions at that point, and then that's when the rebellion hits, okay? So, yeah, looking forward to that. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I got a new camera, so hopefully everything worked out there. I hope I don't, like, go to edit this, and it turns out the audio's... or anything like that, but, yeah, we're gonna get to see Oden finally, so place your bets on, what's his head going to be like. It could either be his hair, a hat, or it's his actual skull is just shaped like that. I'm gonna go with hair, but I'm not gonna throw out the skull shape like that as well, because that's something else Oden might do. Alright, well, this is gonna be a really interesting flashback. I'm pumped. I hope you're pumped. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Later, everybody.